Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoyed these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you like this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. The 2014 to 2018 FP Journe LineSport Centigraphe Sport in titanium is the subject of today's video, and as you can see, it sits easily. 2 millimeters larger than the standard Centigraphe, the watch is constructed entirely of anthracite PVD titanium. How do you tell the difference between the aluminum versions and the titanium versions? The earlier aluminum versions were silver, the titanium versions are anthracite. It's not a thick watch, all things considered being a sports watch and robustly complicated. It's a very reasonable thickness of 11.3 with a domed case flank, so you can easily wear this as a dress watch underneath a tight sleeve. Lug-to-lug, well, best way to describe it is simply link to link. You can see that there's no pushing the links down vertically, so the horizontal span across the wrist on this watch is going to be a more substantial 51.8 millimeters, but given that it's almost weightless on the wrist, this is an excellent fit, even for wrists as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. The bracelet is nicely made, and like the case itself, it features natural vulcanized black rubber in common contact points to prevent gouging of the PVD coating, and it's quite effective in that regard. The gaps between links are big to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping heat on the wrist. Removable links are fixed by screws, and the clasp is deceptively complex. You can see the spring-loaded pin snaps on both sides. It's a double deployment system, but it actually has a vertical trigger, so you have to lift and disengage the vertical trigger to open it. It's not simply a friction fit system that closes and then pops open. You can't shock it into opening. You must disengage the trigger. So a clever mechanism right there for security. The watch, 30 meters water resistant, but per my contacts at FP Journe, you can swim on this watch and use it for surface aquatics, just not diving. The timepiece is larger and different in form than the standard Centigraphe. It's of the 1970s sports watch school of design with integrated bracelet and lugs, and you can see to good effect how the two form one single structure. It's a highly integrated aesthetic. The bezel is broad and domed, and the dial is set in grayscale tones that nicely complement the rest of the watch, but a few well-chosen shocks of red enliven this dial. What are we looking at? Well, we're looking at a railroad track outboard for minutes, stylized Arabic numerals and solid blocks of luminova, the Journe biomorphic hands at center with luminova, all sapphires with a small window in each case into the mechanism, including the 1/100th of a second Foudroyant system, and there is a bezel gasket, or I should say a bezel for each of the individual dials that frames them and incorporates Journe's signature dial side bolts, so those are present and correct. And you can see that there is a three-dimensionality to the dial that you lose when viewing from head-on. There is a rocker at 2 o'clock. That's a patented mechanism giving you the elegance of a mono pusher, but with the twin pusher capacity to start, stop, and restart. You're looking at a 1/100th of a second dial, Centigraphe, the namesake of the watch, a 20-second dial, and then a 10-minute dial. And by removing the tachymeter scales from the standard watch, Journe is able to open up the dials and give you those visible center sections. Shocks of red well chosen, and on the case back, an entirely different look compared to the same watch in a precious metal. This is the Caliper 1506, so 15 French lean. Work started in 2006, that's the nomenclature, but all in aluminum. Bridges and plates, you'll note a free sprung balance beating away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, adjusted in multiple positions with the free sprung architecture making it more shock resistant and easier to adjust. The system with 50 joules and an 80-hour power reserve manually wound, but if you run the chronograph continuously, you will draw down the power to a 24-hour reserve, but you shouldn't need to since the largest chronograph register is 10 minutes. All of this powered by a mainspring barrel at center, and here's how this system manages to avoid losing any amplitude when you start the chronograph. There is a set of drivetrain gears powered by the arbor, or the staff down the center of the barrel, and then there's another set of drivetrain gears driven by the edge, the toothed edge of the barrel, and they drive two separate parallel drivetrains so you can engage the chronograph and not cost the balance any amplitude, and that's how the watch manages to keep superb time even when the chronograph engages. Conventional chronographs will lose a large amount of amplitude and run slower with their chronographs engaged. You can see the column wheel through the skeletonized bridge. It has a very crisp column wheel action. You can even see that the reset system, you push and hold the trigger, is a wonderful piece of theater in and of itself. A timepiece that pushed the limits of technology in the 2000s and continues to beguile the mind today. The award-winning FP Journe Centigraphe in a sporting and versatile case, 42 millimeters in titanium. You can put this featherweight heavyweight on your wrist on the watch box. FP Journe LineSport Centigraphe Sport. See it and make it yours on the watch box.